Look, it's snowing outside, it's freezing cold, and I need a comfy show to watch, so here we are. It's Romania Black, and we are on Frieren Season 2, Episode 2, and I have quite a few comments from Patreon to share with you all from Episode 1 before we get started, so let's just not waste any time and dive right in. Anthony says it changes this perspective a little bit when you find out the entire ending, The Story of Us by Millet, was entirely drawn and colored on paper by one person. How about that, AI? Like, just what? I first of all, if you told me that they were hand-drawn and hand-colored, I would believe that because the texture of it looks like color pencil. It's gorgeous. It's so rich and vibrant. But to tell me that one person, did that whole ED, that's why we had to wait. So worth it. I hate generative AI and AI art because it's not even art. It's just a prompt creating a just image. It's just clip art created by a machine. I hate it so much. So it gives me such pleasure and such satisfaction to know that an actual human being made this beautiful artwork and handcrafted it, and we get to enjoy it and savor it. And mwah, good job, Madhouse. Good job. You get bones. You get all the bones. Love it. That's so good. Also, Anthony pointed this out. I'm going to pull this up for you so you all can see it, but I did not quite remember the side-by-side comparison from the flashback back in season 1 where you had like the same sky scene. Frieren is reading a book. One's red, one's like teal. Then Himmel's like, we'll have to find a new job when we get back. Like Fern is talking about. And it's interesting because Fern is doing the dialogue that Himmel did and saying it's important like Fern did, but Frieren is having the dialogue that Stark did, and you have Stark and Fern being a couple, you have Frieren and Himmel being a couple, and then you of course have Himmel saying, it's not like defeating the Demon King is the end of our journey. And Fern is basically saying the same thing, saying, we need to be 2 steps ahead or our journey will be cut short. And then, meanwhile, Hader is like, he's like, I'd want one where I can drink. And Stark's like, I hope we can find something suitable. A little bit difference between Hader and Stark, but just, I love those comparisons so much. This series, it gets me. So then Linus Peterson, thank you, Anthony, for all of that. Linus Peterson says in episode 1, I want to remind you the wooden necklace Fern has is from Kraft. Thank you, Kraft, our giant elfin man. I was like, it was really bugging me in the reaction because I was like, I don't think it's from Hader. It doesn't look like something Hader would give, but I couldn't quite remember. Kraft, thank you very much. Nago, for episode 1 says, I love this episode. It achieves something I think many series that fall in the typical romance genre are rarely able to do. The deep trust between people, be it platonically like Frieren and her party, or romantically Fern and Stark. I also think it makes it clear that the feelings between Stark and Fern are very mutual. Both have each other's back and are the light in each other's darkness. Seeing that is just beautiful. I wholeheartedly agree. I'm a big sucker for romance. Y'all know I like to ship. So I love seeing the trust and the development of Stark and Fern. It's so satisfying and it's done so wonderfully. It's a good light where we have the darkness of Himmel and Frieren's relationship being doomed from episode 1, But I think to go along with that, Christopher Peterson for episode 1 says, I might have said it before, but as we judge others after ourselves, and with how many times she's called him a perv now, it makes me think that Fern is the one thinking about stuff more than poor Stark. Yeah, I'm not going to disagree with you on that. I think that's kind of true. I think Fern's the one with the dirty mind, and Stark's just like, who, me? What am I doing? Christopher Peterson also said, the crystals are an intriguing addition that can come back in all kinds of interesting ways, but I feel they didn't really highlight what the discovery of that cave would entail beyond the monetary, and this I think is very important. It seems that strategically it could be an important resource. If the North is in a war with demons, this could be something worth knowing about, and with every demon we've seen being a magic user of some kind, these crystals could be a real benefit for humans, no? Yeah, That made me a little bit mad in the moment because I was like, ooh, I feel like Fern and Stark and them should probably tell some of the mages about this cave because that could be something relevant. But on the other end, that's not really their goal. They're not going to war. They could have told Wurble about it. I don't know what Wurble would have done with that information, but it feels like information they could have shared with someone because that seems to be an important resource. I guess we just have to hope that maybe since the cave is open now, that maybe some of the magic users can find a way to go down and get rid of the monster and then take the crystals for themselves. Or maybe the demons will stumble across them. I don't know what to do with that. I feel like it's an element that's going to come up later in the series, but I don't know what to do with that now. So we're just going to file it away and save it for later and see what we do. But finally, Isaac, the mods asked if I wanted this information, and I determined that yes, I don't think this is a spoiler. And so Isaac had said there's some behind the scenes about the manga. Kanehito Yamada, who does the story, and Tsukasa Abe, who does the artwork, have not released a chapter since October of 2025. And the manga is on an indefinite hiatus until further notice. They only released 8 in the entire year. One mangaka can average 35 to 50 chapters on a weekly and bi-weekly schedule, which is insane, by the way, which is insane, but we'll talk about that in a second. Madhouse Studio chose to only release 10 episodes, so we're just getting 10, around this time so they won't catch up to the manga. The only problem is that we aren't getting new chapters at the moment. I hope the Queens are doing well. 32 million copies in circulation. It would break my heart for it not to get an ending. Don't you put this evil on us, Ricky Bobby. Don't you put this evil on us. No. Here's the thing. So supposedly the hiatus is due to the health of both creators. Look, first of all, 35 to 50 chapters on a weekly, bi-weekly basis of drawn artwork and created story is insane. I'm used to the Twittering Birds Never Fly paradigm where we get a new chapter every 2 months and it's like 20 pages and we're like, getting that. So, I mean, I definitely think it is important for mangaka to prioritize their health more than anything. Look, don't be talking about how, like, we may not get the story finished. It will probably get finished, but just let the creators heal themselves. And I'm sure that Isaac means that as well. But I know some people online are probably just like, it's not coming. It's only been October. It's been 3 months. Y'all can cool. It will be fine. I mean, think of how long Miura took in between chapters of Berserk. And think of, like, Oda now takes breaks whenever he damn wants to because he's like, my manga is like the most famous that Jump has right now, so deal. I mean, I feel like it's fine to let these authors heal themselves. I'm starting into Hunter x Hunter, and I know that mangaka's had a lot of health concerns. And I remember people getting really frustrated with like Miura and Tagashi for their breaks in between. And I'm like, just let them be humans. Honestly, I think that the manga will continue. I'm very proud of Madhouse, though, for having the restraint to only do 10 episodes, because if there's one thing that Romania does not like, I don't like recap episodes, and I hate filler. Filler that's not canon, filler that's useless. That's like one of the reasons I've not really gotten into One Piece, the anime, because I know there's filler arcs, and I'm like, I have no time for that. So I'm glad that they're just taking their time. And I'm assuming they were probably in production of season 2 when they learned this information about the mangaka's health. So chances are they were already well within production, and then they learned about the mangaka's health conditions, and they're like, we're just going to limit it to 10 episodes and then leave it at that for a while. I think that's smart. I'm totally fine with that. I am a patient woman. I can go watch 1,000 other anime in the meantime. And then, as you all are probably finding out from this series, as well as Jujutsu Kaisen and other series on my channel, there's something so wonderful when you hype up and wait for the anime to come back, and it just gives you this wonderful feeling of hype and excitement. It just cannot be replicated, and I'd rather them take their time and give us a quality product. And Isaac definitely meant that as well in their comments. So thank you, Isaac, for the update. I appreciate that. But yeah, y'all, I've talked for nearly 10 minutes. I feel like we need to get started with this episode and dive right in. I'm so ready, y'all. But anyway, we're going to get started with Frieren Beyond Journey's End, episode 2 of season 2. And we're going to get started here in 3, 2, 1, and let's go. This season's off to a great start. Man, Frieren, my girl, you could have had a harem of heroes, is what it sounds like, but I definitely want to talk about this episode and some of the things about it that are really interesting, but man, it's so unfair that we get this amazing guy who has a badass ability. It's so cool and also so foreboding and terrifying, and then we only get to see him for one episode. Frieren is a big theory of this series is about the passage of time and kind of the fleetingness of these moments. Like, we're introduced to this one character who has such a really cool premise and backstory, and we only get to know him for this one episode, and then it's like gone. That's it. It's like that's how it works. That's how time goes. And Frieren is very understanding of that based on how long she's been around. So let's dive in, and I'm going to start the screenshots for this episode, and we'll get to talking about it here in 3, 2, 1. Himmel's too perfect. He's too perfect for words. It's annoying how perfect he is. But this episode is called The Hero of the South. And I thought, very much like Stark and Fern, that this was going to be about Himmel. I thought the whole episode was going to be about Himmel again. I like that it's like every old man that Frieren encounters is somewhat of a reminder of Himmel, the old man that she turned down in his final moments. I'm like, I need to go back and rewatch episode 1. I really want to go back and rewatch episode 1, to be honest with you all. But yeah, so he's like, well, I'll give you this spell to scratch the itchy parts of your back if you clean the statue. And she's like, yoink. She was going to do it anyway, because that's just how she is. But, the chance to get a really kind of cool, quirky spell, not going to turn that down. Absolutely not. So, I just love the old man so serious. Like, yeah. Frieren she could have a harem of little old men at this point that would be following her around. Also, I think it's telling that we are in Fable Village, which is a very apt, apropos name, located in the Northern Lands, 29 years after the death of Himmel the hero. And so, whenever Fern says that there are statues of Mr. Himmel everywhere, it seems, that's such a cruel moment, because on the one hand, it's reminding Frieren of Himmel, and so she can't lose the memory of him. But on the other hand, it's a constant reminder that she left this man on read for like 50 years, It's just a reminder of all that could have been, but also it's like a double-edged sword. It reminds her of what could have been, but it also is a reminder of who he is so that she doesn't ever forget, And Stark's like, well, odd jobs are really fun, He's like, let's get to polishing. I'm like, Stark, my dude. Stark, my dude. Frieren would never turn down the chance to polish Himmel's statue anytime, but you need to stay away from that language, sir. I love it. And then Frieren's like, no, you don't have to use any elbow grease. It's a bronze statue, so we can use some magic on this one. Meaning that it's a little bit newer, perhaps. Maybe not. I don't know. Maybe, I'm trying to think of the bronze statues we could use magic on. In this world, bronze is newer than some of the older metals, right? She's like, you won't have to do anything, Mr. Stark. And then we get this man here. What a badass design. Double wielding, 2 swords, the big cape, the brooch, the suit and the bolo, the millennial bangs, the mustache. This man looks like he came straight out of Attack on Titan, and I'm not mad about it at all. He looks so badass. I thought at the beginning that it was Himmel, and it was just the fact because we had in the season 1, Himmel commissioned all the different people to make statues of him, and some of them looked just a little bit off. So I thought that this was, again, Himmel not looking quite like Himmel, and it was the joke. But no, it's someone totally different. Nope, it's not. That's the hero of the South. Himmel was the one who defeated the Demon King, but he wasn't the only hero. I like that premise immediately, that it's not just one. Again, because when Frieren says Himmel defeated the Demon King, yes, technically, but he also had Hader, Ison, and her helping him to do it. So he wasn't alone in that venture. And here, her saying he wasn't the only hero, not only talking about the other 3, but about others who helped at that time to conquer the sages as well. Oh, wow, I love that. They did a good job with his likeness. All kinds of heroes made the attempt. And among them, the hero of the South was one of humanity's strongest, was said to be humanity's strongest. I also think it's a good kind of callback. We've talked about this in Orb on the Movements of the Earth, if you've watched that series with me on my channel. But the idea that you may or may not have your name recorded in the annals of history, but that doesn't mean that your actions didn't have impact or didn't affect people. And one of the lessons that, Frieren kind of chuckles about, she's like, oh, you supposedly could see into the future, but you saw that you didn't make an impact. She's like, you're a liar. You did make an impact. Like, your future sight must not be that good, because these people in this village erected a statue of you and they still talk about you and perform plays and stuff to this day. She's like, so don't say that you didn't do anything. You clearly had an impact. I love that. I think that's amazing. And maybe in his mind, impact was more than what Frieren recognizes it to be. So yeah. And Stark's like, that seems a bit extreme. She's like, oh, I wouldn't say that. He was worthy of the title. And I like how she's able to, because Frieren's been around the block for a long time, Stark and Fern take her seriously, but she also doesn't have to reveal her secret knowledge of his ability. She can just say that, and because she's been around and has the reputation, they believe her, even if they don't have, a big reason to, or they don't have any evidence in front of them. So the 7 sages of destruction who controlled the northern lands. So we get them shown here. We have one, looks like they're in a dress. We've seen Guillotine. We've seen old Guillotine girl. She's dead. And we have this one that has pigtails and braids. We have the giant demon king there, foreboding over. We have this one guy here. The other guy looks like he was the omniscient one. And then another one that looks like he is Twink McGee in the background there. Just guessing. I don't know who this one is up front, but he looks like, with that bowl cut, he looks like a character from Revolutionary Girl Lieutenant, and I kind of want to meet him, kind of don't want to meet him. But yeah. So these 7 sages, we actually only defeated 2 of them. So they defeated 2 of the 7 sages along their quest. And it says, of the remaining 5, 2 either fled or went missing. And like Aura the Guillotine. So Aura the Guillotine was one of the 2 that were missing. So Frieren and her party, the hero's party, killed 2 of the 7 sages. And then we found Aurora. She was destroyed. And then the hero of the South killed 3 of the others, including the omniscient one, who he died in the process of killing. So there's just 1 of the 7 sages that's left. 1 of 7 sages is still remaining. Interesting. Okay. The hero defeated the remaining 3. I like that we just conveniently get a puppet show. His rapid advance was incredible. In a year, he annihilated the Demon King's frontline troops and reached the northernmost parts of the end of the Northern Plateau, the heart of the Demon King's supply route back then, where he faced Schlatt the Omniscient. I want to just go ahead and point out here for you all that this puppet of Schlatt, the Demon King's confidant who could see 1,000 years into the future with magic. Where is that at, buddy? I don't see the toy. Oh, there we go. Yeah, this Demon King confidant, the puppet here is not nearly as hot as the demon is in person. I was like, you got a few details mixed up, but that's okay. That's all right. We understand. It's interesting, the idea of demons seeing 1,000 years into the future with magic. But again, the demons are kind of supernatural entities. So the demons are interesting. I could see why. I find the demons fascinating. I view them kind of like as a double-edged sword too. On the one hand, I feel like the demons, they don't have a lot of depth to them. That's my only beef with the demons in this story. They really don't have any depth. They are literally like if the Velociraptors in Jurassic Park, the 1993 version, not any other ones, but the OG Jurassic Park, if the Velociraptors in that series could talk. That's literally what they are. They are predators. They are demons. They're supernatural entity predators. That's literally what they are. They just happen to, if the Velociraptors in Jurassic Park could talk and use magic. That sounds insanely OP because it is. But that's literally what they are. And so on the one hand, as I throw my dog this toy, on the one hand, I do find it kind of like there's a part of me that wishes the demons were like we see demons in other anime where they're fleshed out and they have more character development and more nuance. However, in those stories, the demons are either partially human, they're humanoid, they're meant to be akin to humans, or they're monsters, quote unquote, that are also meant to be allegories of, ostracized human subsects of humanity, whatever, other races, ethnicities, whatever the case may be. They are meant to be an allegorical minority represented through this form that is different than other humans in the stories when we see that in other forms of media. However, in this one particularly, the demons are just literally velociraptors that can use magic and talk. It's what they are. So on the one hand, while they don't have a lot of depth to them, there is something to that I like the idea. They're sort of reflections of the people in the story. Like, it's kind of a reflection of how we as humans, we want to see good in ourselves despite the bad that we do. We want to see good reflected in others despite the bad they do, because that reflects upon us. So there's a part of us that wants to feel sad for the demons in this story. We want to feel empathy for them. But at the end of the day, they do not feel empathy back. They are literally mirroring us and copying and imitating us to kill us and eat us in the story. So it's interesting. And I also feel like the fact that all the demons are hot is attributed to that. They're trying to lure in humans. It's like a siren trying to lure you into the waters. They're like, oh, we're so beautiful. Munch, munch, munch face. So yeah, but the puppet here, they took a little artistic liberty. I do think considering that the demons, what I was trying to get at when I started this conversation, what I think is interesting is the demons being literally velociraptors who can use magic. What would they do? How do they identify time? How do they know it's 1,000 years? What is that? I wondered if the Demon King's confidant could actually not see into the future. It was actually the Hero of the South's ability, but it got misconstrued and over time got labeled as the confidant's ability instead of his. I feel like that was it. So that might have been a misunderstanding that led to people just getting the story twisted. Which happens quite a bit, right? And so he says here, he could see 1,000 years into the future with magic. And the combined forces of all 7 sages. So yeah, he's like, that's insane. The heroes still managed to defeat 3 of them. And he and Schlatt slew each other in... Schlatt the Omniscient. And they ended up slewing each other in the end. But the battle liberated many people in this region from the 7 sages. So yeah, Frieren points out how the people here are devoted to the Hero of the South, but his body was never found. I do like, there's like a little elf. The angel in the background there looks like an elf. Looks like Frieren. I'm just saying. We'll see where that goes. And then I like that Frieren points out that even though they're like, oh, Frieren kind of takes the myth and the little, like, the folklore, and they're like, to this day, they say that he's still fighting the demon. She's like, no, they probably just ate him. Just, come on, Frieren. I have a sense of wonder, but, anytime I see a puppet like that, I think of the series Monster. It just draws my mind immediately back to it. But they clean up the statue, and as they're doing it, we flash back to Frieren, who met the Hero of the South before she met Himmel. She's like, I can't defeat the Demon King. No. And he's like, well, and also he was extremely handsome. Frieren had a gaggle of men at her feet at all times, and she did not even care. And he's like, so you refused after all. I don't know the right words to convince you. Interestingly, though, Frieren is a pretty pragmatic person. Like, if you tell her something's going to happen and it ends up happening, she's like, oh, okay, I believe you. So I feel like in his premonition of him talking to her and trying to convince her, he's like, I don't know how I would have convinced you in the first place. The answer is you would not have convinced her. But it's this moment and this conversation that you have with her. Hello, my dogs are all being needy. That it's this conversation he's having with her that is causing her to realize when Himmel comes that, oh, this guy was telling the truth. He did have psychic powers. I need to join Himmel's group because of what he said. So really, honestly, the answer was he was never going to convince her to join him in his quest, but his actions have ramifications for the future. I like that message that the series gives us where you don't think what you're doing matters in the moment. So when she turned him down, he's like, man, I couldn't convince you. I must not have the right words. It's one of those, like, it's sort of like an unspoken prayer. You don't know what you think in the moment. Oh, this failed. I just didn't know what to do. But the answer is truly, it wouldn't have mattered even if you did know what you needed to do. It wasn't the right time for it to happen. It needed to wait till Himmel came, and that was the time she needed to join that specific party. Because without her, it's like you realize that all the pieces had to fall into the right place. Without Frieren, Hader and Eisen and Himmel would not have been able to defeat the Demon King. They wouldn't have even gotten to that point. So I feel like this is a good lesson to tell people that if things don't seem like they're working out right now and you're like, what else could I have done differently? The answer might be there was nothing you could have done differently. It just wasn't the right time. It wasn't, the universe hadn't aligned the stars for it to be that way. But yeah, he's so handsome here. And she's like, I just want to pick my herbs. She's like, I'm just here gathering my time for my pasta. What we doing? She's like, you act like you already knew this was going to happen. And he's like, because I did. He's so broad. Also, I absolutely love his design. He looks amazing. And then he's like, well, I suppose I can tell you why. You're an ancient elf. You don't seem like the type to go like spreading around rumors and telling what I do. You seem kind of hermity. He's like, if you learn my secret, you can never tell anyone. She's like, well, didn't really ask to know your secret. Everybody's just telling Frieren everything. The reason I'm among the reason I'm among humanity's strongest is because I can see the future. And I did have to note in the reaction, I give a spoiler for a series, but there's a character from Bungo Stray Dogs that has a similar ability who also has a similar hair color. And I was like, ooh, okay. I see the connections. I see the resemblance. And of course, he's like, well, you don't seem to believe me. And Frieren's like, no, I just don't care. Frieren's like, cool. I'm glad you can see the future. That seems like a burden. Don't really want to mess with it. And he's like, well, this might pique your interest. Do you know of the 7 sages of destruction? Now, yes, she does know of them. She wants to stop them. She just doesn't see how. And so, yeah. So we get this little flashback briefly of her and what looks like the Demon King. When did she come in contact with him? I don't remember this. What? It kind of makes sense now. It shows her grabbing her arm like she was injured by him. So when did this happen? It was before Himmel showed up. So what happened? We haven't been privy to this knowledge before. So that helps add another like piece to the puzzle where Frieren wants to go and destroy the Demon King, but she doesn't think it's possible. And she's a pragmatic person who's like, well, if I can't do it, I can't do it. And it's not until this guy seeing the future explains to her that, yeah, oh, you can do it. Here's how. And that Himmel's party is going to come by, and that's the one she should join. So it's funny how all of these things line up and add up together. But now I want to know about this encounter. Like, we just got a little hint of it. I want to know more about that. He's like, a year from now, in the Northern Plateau, I will be defeated and slain by Schlatt the Omniscient and the 7 sages. It's interesting. If Schlatt the Omniscient really truly did have the power to see into the future, and so did he, that's kind of crazy. That's kind of wild. The only reason I question whether Schlatt could truly see into the future or not, because it's like, it's kind of like, it creates this paradox. If he could really see into the future, why would Schlatt go willingly to his death? Because he's a demon. He can't really think that advanced. So why would he do it? And if he can't see that far in advance in reality, or if he can and chooses anyway, then why was the ability he had that good to begin with if he couldn't truly utilize it the best? So I don't know. I do think it speaks a lot for the hero of the South that he knew when his death was going to be and still went through with it. That takes a lot of courage. We've talked about this in other series that involve time travel and things like that. Like, if you know that something's going to happen to you, do you want to know ahead of time? Or do you think that would freak you out even more and make you even more paranoid and anxious? It would take a lot of courage to face your death head on like that, knowing it was going to happen. That would take a lot of courage and be kind of crazy. But he did. That's one of the reasons why he was a hero. He had that courage. Because he probably knew that it was going to make a difference by killing one of those sages. So then as he looks back, who do we happen to see? But, oh yeah, this guy, this sage, who looks like a Digimon, but also really hot. Oh no, he's hot. Yeah, so there's all these other demons. It looks like, okay, is that all 6 of them? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, okay, so there is 7. So at this time, there were still, but it looks like there's 8 there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's 8. Maybe it's the Demon King and the 7 sages. And he's one of them. Okay, that would make sense because that means that all the 7 sages showed up to face the Hero of the South. The Hero of the South kills 2 of them, along with Schlatt, which makes 3. The other 6 and the Demon King escape. Okay. And then that means that later on, Himmel and Frieren will kill 2 more, and there'll be 2 of the sages left, and the Demon King gets killed. So then Aurora's one of them that remains, and then the one that runs away. Okay. All right, that all adds up. That makes more sense now. But yeah. And, I mean, he went out knowing that he was trying to achieve his goal to help the people. He's like, don't feel sorry for me. Even if you accompanied, my fate wouldn't change. It's honestly a good thing she didn't accompany him, because then they both would have died, probably. So that's crazy. But he says, soon a young hero will visit you. He saw Himmel coming. He saw Himmel coming. I hate to admit it, but he's the one who will save the world, not me. That's also such a humbling thing to realize. When you're like, it's not going to be me that saves the world, it's someone else. That's crazy. I feel like he was also testing his powers because he knew Himmel was going to come and get her attention. And he was just testing to see if she'd join him and that his powers weren't fully working. And maybe that was giving him the possible wonder if he was wrong about her in this moment. Does that mean he's not actually going to die in the future? I don't know. I don't know if that's what that means, but man, you'll travel with him and defeat the Demon King. And she's like, and then he's like, he's built different. Just freaking Himmel. I like that transition from him to them. Like they do look very different. He'll change your life. Oh, in many a way, in many a crazy way. And she's like, really? She's like, really? I don't foresee myself falling for some blue-haired guy. Funny that. And he's like, can I ask you one thing? When you meet that young man, tell him this. So when she met him, she didn't immediately tell him what was going on. Instead, we got old Hader and Ison over there in the corner sleeping, which is adorable. And Himmel's keeping watch by the fire. And then she sets, and that's when she tells him. I'm assuming it's not very far into their journey. And she says what he had said. Oh. I'm assuming that what he said was I swear to you, I'll carve a path for you to go the rest of the way. That's a lot of pressure on Himmel in that moment. To realize that this guy is giving his life to carve a way for them to save the world. In that moment, Himmel looks a lot like Stark. In that moment, Himmel resembles Stark quite a bit, where he's like, okay. I mean, that's a lot of pressure. It's a lot of pressure. I swear. Oh, it's so good. And yeah, you could see where he'd been cut through. Yeah. I'll clear a path for you. Okay. And away he goes. Damn! I'm humanity's strongest hero, the hero of the South. We don't even get his name. That's crazy. Even if my accomplishments should be buried in the shadows of history. That's the thing that Frieren's like, well, you couldn't predict everything because you said that no one would remember you. It'd be buried in the shadows of history, but people still celebrate you and remember you to this day. So your power's not totally omniscient, right? Damn. It's crazy. And I think it's important we don't get his name because that's kind of the point. Even though his name is not remembered, his actions are. And that's kind of the point is your actions, even if, you think that you're not doing anything that's going to be remembered, your actions have a lot of consequences. It's the George Bailey, It's a Wonderful Life effect, where people are impacted by you every day, even when you don't realize it. So you kind of have to watch what you do and everything you say and make sure you're being kind to people and doing good, because it's going to impact people in ways you can't even imagine. And the hero had no idea the trajectory of his actions and how many people it would impact. Also, I love Stark playing the demon, the sage here, and the kids are chasing after him with the sword. That's really cute. It's adorable. Some future sight that you had. Oh, the people here do remember you. History hasn't forgotten. That's really cute. I think that also speaks to Frieren going around and seeing the statues of Himmel and how much the deeds that the hero's party has had done, because I think even she doubted it when she was traveling with them first, This episode makes me want to go and rewatch the whole series now. So, we move on. That chapter of the manga's over. We move on to Graf Dotch's domain, located in the Northern Lands. We've been here before, and Frieren is not wanting to stick around. I think it's interesting because Frieren, I think she knew the demon sword might have been taken, but she didn't want to... I don't blame her for not wanting to deal with the one guy, the Graf, because the great-grandfather they messed with wanted to put him in a dungeon. And she was like, we don't need to worry about that. We have enough problems. So I understand that, but there is an aspect of it where she didn't want to think about the idea of something Himmel had done being undone. And that would, were that the case, she's like, that means that we would have had to remedy it, because she's like, I can't just let Himmel's work be undone and not have meaning anymore. We've got to rectify that. So she was trying to just avoid everything, but I like that Stark and Fern were kind of thrown off. They're like, well, there's magic shops and there's food. And she's like, no, time is finite. I'm like, Frieren, you're the last person to be wondering that, because you've lived forever. Time is not finite for you. And I like that Stark and Fern can tell she's off her game. Something else that was kind of cool that I liked about this episode is if you look at the lettuce and the onion and the garlic and the carrots, they've all got little patches like dirt and stuff on them. Just that little detail of realism. Even like the little holes in the lettuce have some dirt on it. Just that little realism. It's a little thing, but the animation quality is just top notch. So they pay some money, get some groceries. Poor Stark. He's literally the Reiner of this episode, getting stuck like with all the bags of clothing, the bags of food, the clothing, all of that. I like Frieren's little smile towards Fern as she's looking at the candles. That was really cute. But yeah, he's like, well, can't we at least get something nice to eat? And she's like, no, we don't have any spare money. And then who shows up but this butler being like, hey, you've been invited to the castle. And she's like, damn it, son of a bitch. So yeah, she's like, Frieren was a member of the party of heroes that saved this land, and my lord wishes to thank you all. I love that she's just standing there like... So we go back to the castle, where we have that salad with them radishes. I don't know about that, but that beef looks good at least. So we have the dinner and everything. I love that Stark's like, nah. That part was hilarious. Just, that part was great. So, I mean, if anything, the great-grandson he's a lot younger than his great-grandfather was when he met Frieren. Still that side bang, that genetic side bang going on. And she's like, I don't want to go back and do this again. He's like, the family treasured heirloom sword was stolen by a demon. And she's like, again? She's like, it was stolen from his great-grandfather too. I liked this idea of the last time they were here, she's like, I want a grimoire as a reward. And he's like, okay, sure. She's like, the last time we were here, he's like, if you don't get my sword back, I'll throw you into the dungeon. And Himmel's like, oh, I like Himmel and Hader are like, but this delay, we have places to go, demon kings to kill. She's like, at least we know which way he went last time. I could see why Frieren would absolutely want to avoid dealing with this family. She's like, the last time we were just sent on a wild goose chase with no hints or clues, and it took forever, and otherwise we were going to be thrown in a dungeon. It was really sucky, and I didn't like any of it. At least I kind of have a leeway this time, and they don't have to worry about it so much. But yeah, I also like that every time they go and fight the demons, there's not like any like grandiose name of the demon, stuff like that. It's like, no, this demon that was posing as a human stole the sword. They were causing destruction. We had to go chase them down. So They also point out that this sword was a demon artifact that the family has claimed as an heirloom, but they're actually using it to protect the area. Because if the demons have it, they can run amok and cause like lots of destruction, and the humans here are guarding it to keep that from happening again. Although my only issue with this part of the story is I get the idea, because when they said, well, just throw away the sword or let the demons have it or like get rid of it or whatever. And Frieren's like, no, because then if the demon gets it back, they'll cause more destruction. I got all of that. I get why the family keeps it as an heirloom under wraps, because they don't want the demons to get it and cause destruction. But if you've had it stolen multiple times and it's been attempted to be stolen multiple times, I don't know, maybe protect it better. I was like, they just put it on a little pedestal in a wide open room with a butler guarding it for maybe not that much time. And they're like, all right, all good. I'm like, if you know this is an heirloom that needs protected, like put a guard there, put a glass box around it, like do something. You're just asking for it to be stolen again at this point. It was crazy. But yeah, Himmel brought back that heirloom once already. She's like, if I refuse, his efforts would have been for nothing. I'm like, girl, then when you showed up in this village, she was just hoping for the off chance that the sword was fine. She's like, let's just hurry up and get out of here. I'm sure the sword is fine. They don't need our help. Because once she found out it was gone, she's like, well, because I love Himmel wouldn't have abandoned somebody in need. I got to go through with this. Da 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 da. So yeah. So then this guy, he's like, this way, points, he's like, there was some death and destruction that way. You might want to go check it out. I will never get tired of Frieren's little sleepy face. Adorable. So cute. I also like Stark being the lookout while they sleep. That was really cute. And poor Stark, though, with the fish. Look, sir, it's not the size of the fish you caught. It's how you cook it. I feel for Stark. I want him to catch a giant, delicious bass at some point. Also, I forgot, Stark is scared of snakes, isn't he? I like that Frieren just stomps on the snake. That was really great. And Fern's like, it's okay. He's like, I love it. I love how Stark can be this strong frontliner, but at the same time, he can be so vulnerable and soft. I live for it. But then, in typical Frieren fashion, we have a tone shift where the tone just tweaks ever so slightly. We get, as the sun is setting, some death and destruction. And it's like, okay, now we're getting closer to the demon. And we get to this village that's been destroyed and in ruins with like the bloody boot and everything. As soon as we saw this woman coming out in the black hood from the rubble, I was like, she's not a priest. I was like, no, she's not a priest. She's a demon. And the moment she wouldn't like lift up her cloak, I'm like, there's horns underneath that cape. Don't you think I don't know that? And even when she showed the necklace, I'm like, the whole point is that they imitate humans. So, and she's beautiful. So they're just imitating people. She's like, I was mourning the villagers. Like the fact that she said it's so cold and stony, which is also kind of ironic because Frieren's an elf and she says things very cold and stony too. So it's interesting. But her dialogue is just imitating what a human would say. And she's like, it's probably the demon that we're after. She's like, there have been no survivors. How awful. And she's like, adventurers, will you offer a prayer? Yeah, she was trying to convince them to close their eyes so she could attack them while they were praying. And Frieren's like, sorry, I'm an atheist. and just fired at the demon. There were no bodies buried here. The priest is the sword demon. Yep. Now, what's interesting is what the demon says at this point where she's like, I had to in order to survive. And Frieren's like, well, you could have killed things other than people. You could have killed them other than people. She's like, even though you can eat things other than humans. And she's like, well, why is that a reason to not eat humans? Again, I feel like it's velociraptors that can talk and use magic. They're like, well, you all are prey. I'm going to treat you all as prey. And Frieren's like, well, there's an evolutionary difference that you're not recognizing because you are a demon and you're not at the level that we are. So that's one of the reasons why. But I'm like, don't get it misconstrued. It's not saying like this isn't like a series like Attack on Titan where people are fighting people and, everybody's on the equal playing field. The demons are just imitating people, but they are not on the same playing field. They are literally velociraptors that can use magic. And Frieren's like, speaking about it to you is a waste of time because you're just reflecting human dialogue. I do love that shot. That shot's amazing. I would use it as the thumbnail, but I'm going to use a picture of the hero of the South as a thumbnail. But that one's so good. I really like that picture a lot. So yeah, and then Frieren's like, let's go. I think because Frieren knows from her experience that all these demons are the same and that she's had moments of weakness where she's given in and nearly gotten someone hurt or herself hurt because she was trying to empathize, and now she's like, no, Frieren's not doing it. This part was kind of scary where Fern got threatened by the demon with the sword, which also points out how the sword has the ability to break through her shield. So it is important that the demons don't get the sword, that it is being protected by the family. I thought Frieren was going to get hurt, but damn, Stark protecting her. And him just like kicking the demon away. Oh, I also love, he looks so mad in that moment. He's like, get away from Fern. Yeah. And then he's like, well, that's what frontliners are for. He's like, I love you, but also part of my job. I don't have to confront you with my romantic feelings for you right now because it's part of the duties. And then Frieren is just like blasting her, like overkill. Just a little bit of overkill. A wee bit. Oh my God. Love it. Love it. And then we see that they did the same thing. Only back then, Frieren's like, it's so cold. Frieren was not nearly as fired up at the last time they killed the demon. And Timmel's like, we got a chance to defeat a demon, and we helped make a difference that could have cost a lot of people. I also like that Hader in this moment puts his arm on Frieren's shoulder, and he's like, you just like taking on difficult jobs. Like, he's just trying to connect with her. It's super cute. And now it's Frieren's turn to be kind of like Hader, being like, good job, everybody. And Fern's like, you were really violent, weren't you? And she's like, because you were both put in danger. And she's like, I'm not letting that happen. No way, Jose. She's like, but now we can pray because the demon's gone. I do love the sword. The sword design, the hilt with the rubies and the sapphires is really pretty. I really like it a lot. There's also 7 gemstones, which is interesting. I wonder if the 7 gemstones have anything to do with like the 7 sages with the demons. I wonder if there's a connection there and that's why they keep going back to it. Maybe the sages made it. I don't know. I'm interested. I'm interested how the demons make things and weapons out of magic because, I mean, velociraptors are smart, so I guess they could. You would think it's kind of like the AI versus human discussion where you would think humans can create things that AI can't because humans have a soul and AI right now doesn't. And so it's like, do the demons have a soul? Are they just predators? Like, how can they create things without the intelligence that humans have? And so it's kind of like, you gotta think about it. I don't know the exact answers to it. Maybe we'll learn more about it on the way. And Fern asks, is that the nature of demons? She's like, well, they went on a rampage last time it was stolen too. And Stark's like, yeah, that's not good. She's like, they sweet-talked humans into helping them. That's why Frieren's like, I can't let anybody be sweet-talked. She's like, no. She's like, we can't risk that because they'll do anything to take advantage of people. So yeah. And Stark's like, did the demons have help stealing the sword this time too? She's like, well, they'll take advantage of human desire. They're demons. They're going to take advantage of your desires. But as long as humans know desire, even if demons take advantage of it, they're still going to be people. They're going to be there to protect those items and protect the people as well. Humans also fail to resist their impulses. But if that happens, she's like, if that happens, you'll help again, right, Miss Frieren? She's like, well, I am an elf, not a human, so sure. Aw. What did she say there? And he's like, what did she say there? Depends on the reward. She's like, I got a good grimoire this time. Again, she's like, what kind of spell is it? She's like, oh, it turns a red apple into a green apple. Again, Frieren loves these little useless spells. Although, if you are cooking and you need a red apple instead of a green apple, or you need a Granny Smith instead of a Red Delicious, could be an advantageous spell. I swear, though, this Frieren is just meeting up all these old men all these old men are trying to create, it's freaking like Harvest Moon over here. And all these old men are trying to court Frieren. But yeah, this episode was adorable. I really enjoyed this episode. That Edie is incredible. This was really nice. The hero in the South, I can't believe we just got that one episode with him. How dare. I hope we get to see maybe a flashback about him in the future. That'd be awesome. But anyway, I've talked for a while about this episode. I want to know your thoughts down below about what you thought about it with both of these stories in this episode. But anyway, this season is off to a really good start and I'm enjoying it. So I hope you all are as well. But anyway, I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and yeah, I'm back very soon with more Frieren Beyond Journey's End. Bye.